And we're live. Hello there everybody and welcome to the Abyss. Today we are going to be continuing our Hollow Knight adventures. I'm trying to make sure that I can get everything set up perfectly. I'm a little bit late today, as you probably all noticed. No real excuses, just I'm late. Something else that I was thinking about changing up a little bit was my live splits. Let me go ahead and just shift on over. Transition. I'm going to go ahead and edit it live while everyone can watch, because I don't really have any other time to do so. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the amount of total splits and increase the blank space. Let's see how that looks. Because the goal is to move this over. Like that. Go ahead and exit studio mode. And let me go ahead and actually look at the live split editor one more time. Splits. Do an even number. I'm going to go ahead and go up to 10 and see what that does. Ooh. Something else that I should look at doing. Timer 1. Real time. Timer 2 is game time. That's what I indeed want to do. Huh. 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 Looks better. Go ahead and also I pushed cancel. I pushed cancel. Oh. That looks good. Timer real time, align to center, change to this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and change this to this, align to center. Don't you? Oh, I guess shooting gradient's actually pretty good. It's not what I thought it was, but it will do. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and rearrange these two. I want to add go ahead and look at this. Here I am not understanding exactly what this is even doing. Go ahead and get rid of that. Kind of like that being at the bottom. I think that'll do. That'll do. That'll do. So, I don't actually know exactly what I want to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and go back to Explosion Pogo first. And I'm going to go ahead and try to just get that down. Let me go ahead and create a save state here. And let me go ahead and Dreamgate Fungu. F1 skills, dream nail, items, give me that glorious essence. And I'm going to, well, I don't have that. There we go. There we go. So now I need to remove some things. And just so this isn't distracting. Skills, we're gonna give myself Mantis. We're gonna remove the dream stuff. We're gonna move C dash. Remove lantern. Can't remove essence, but I theoretically would. And I'm gonna do infinite HP and infinite soul. And just in case I'm an idiot or something happens, I don't know. So, how do things again? So I'm not able to do that anymore. I'm a little bit rusty, as per usual, just because I don't play this except. Oh, I would have. I don't play this unless I'm on stream, really. I've been playing a lot of Valheim recently. I didn't get the pogo. Nope, not gonna get it. Nope, not gonna get it. It needs to be perfect. I didn't get enough height. Now that I've done this though, it's a lot easier to like visualize where I need to go and understand exactly what I need to do. I didn't get the BOGO. The other thing that I've been doing, it's been taking a lot of my time, is I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, actually. Having a lot of fun just kind of messing around and trying to learn new heroes. I shouldn't, so that's the thing about Overwatch that like annoys me, is the fact that it doesn't feel fun to learn new heroes because it doesn't have like an MMR per hero, right? It physically just can't because of the limitations of the game. But as a result, if I want to practice, say, Genji, oh, that was perfect, and I wasn't expecting to get it perfect. Oh. But because there's no, like, MMR, like, I practiced my McCree a crap ton, right? Or my Widowmaker. Like, I can play those heroes at my skill level, which is something that I've worked fairly hard for, because those are the heroes that I enjoyed the most starting off. I wasn't far enough left. But now my Genji is still like as terrible as when I first was starting the game. I'm a little bit better now. I would say I'm probably a silver or gold Genji. I'm not terrible at it. Same thing with Doomfist. I'm probably got silver Doomfist. But I'm plat / diamond McCree and Widowmaker and Hitscan in general. Like Ashe I'm fairly confident with, just because I've played her a lot as well. But anything that's Hitscan, like, I'm fairly confident at it. But as a result, the lobbies that I get placed in on generic DPS is like platinum, you know, lobbies where things that if you're just trying to learn Genji's core mechanics, you kind of can't. If I gotten hit there, I could have probably made that, actually. Did that way too soon. But yeah, that's one of the fundamental issues. Like, that's why tanking is actually kind of fun for me, because as a like, the only really different ones are Roadhog. Like, I mean, there's off tanks and then there's main tanks, but then there's like Roadhog and Wrecking Ball, which are kind of like bruisers more, and Zarya too. But if you want to learn how to play Orisa, like, you can. I mean, it's not ideal, but you can. And no one's really gonna flame a bad Orisa. I mean, they're gonna flame you for playing Orisa in a meta that doesn't like Orisa. But like, if you play a bad Roadhog or a bad Wrecking Ball, like, people are gonna notice, because it just looks like you're feeding. But if you play badly as Reinhardt, right? The only way people will tell is if you are so bad in comparison to the other Reinhardt or the other tanking duo on the enemy team. Like, that's the only way they're gonna feel it. They're not gonna understand, for the most part, at least in my rank, why are you sucking at your role. And I'm sure it's true for higher ranks as well. Just based upon, like, from what I've seen from streamers and stuff, where there's people who literally don't understand, like, supposedly what tanks are supposed to be doing at, like, any given moment, and what, as a DPS player or as a support player, is expected of them to be able to, dang it, coincide well with them and synergize. For example, if you take a look at, like, someone like ML7, he's like an exception because he can just outskill DPS as a support. Which, in my opinion, is not ideal, but it is a very, very telling sign that, like, hey, you know, if I want to be DPS who doesn't need to peel for my supports, although I should, I can just leave the off tank to do it, and ML7 will be good enough for damage that if a diva's backing him, you know, he'll be fine most of the time. Most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Okay. Finally got it. I want to get where I could do it like 2 or 3 times in a row. And not by luck. Because if I can't get this, then a single run of Hollow Knight's not going to happen. If I can't get this, and if I can't get Mantis Pogo, which Mantis Pogo should be easier than I jumped too soon. It's good placement, though. But yeah, what was I saying? Something about me DPS, me hurt smart or something. Yeah, no, it's just annoying because there's a smaller pool with less variety in terms of, like, what, like, if you play a Reinhardt, right? You can, I mean, Reinhardt's kind of unique, I suppose. I mean, compared to, like, the other people, but I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot less to learn on tank compared to there's a lot of little things that matter a lot but don't take a lot to learn in terms of like it's more about reading people, right? It's more about guessing and predicting what's going to happen next, which some DPS are good at as well. Of course, there's another argument there where the outcomes get outweighed by... So, no, let me go ahead and just finish my original thought. Tanks... There's a lot of little things that if you can do them better than the other tank... It's not even if you do like everything perfect that you'll just 100% of the time be, you know, top dog. It's more of like if you just do things well, you'll outshine the other tanks and you'll just create immense opportunities. I screwed that up for your team. The issue is, of course, you rely on your team to follow up. So this is where I think Overwatch has had a bit of a struggle. Is they want it to be a team-based game. In my opinion, that's better. I don't like Overwatch being a first-person shooter. I like Overwatch being a MOBA first-person MOBA, right? Which, yes, it's a first-person shooter. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to try to make any wild claims that it's not a first-person shooter. Whatever. It's just not a traditional first-person shooter. It's not a CS:GO. It's not a Valorant. It's not a Call of Duty. You know, like that's fine. But we shouldn't be treating it like a freaking first-person shooter. In the same regards, at least, when, in all honesty, some of the best plays that came out of Overwatch was during the team-based eras. And yes, I know, GOATs, garbage or whatever, but still, like, the amount of team play and amount of, like, coordination that was in that, the thing that made a lot of people go, wow, this is what advanced Overwatch really looks like. Like that was GOATs. Now it's just kind of like, even the top 500 people don't know what they're doing. Sometimes they're literally sitting there like on wrecking ball, getting knocked around 5 different ways, going, what is even happening right now? Hey, it's 9:30. This is gonna be the usual for me now. I think I'm just gonna be ranting about Overwatch while I play and mess up Explosion Pogo 50 million times in a row. Didn't hit it. But going back to what I was, originally talking about with that. Well, too much to the left, too soon. Tanks, there's a lot, but there's not in comparison. Because they it's more of they have about the same as any other roles, but their impact is so much greater that it feels like they do a lot less for they do a lot more for less because they need to. That's literally their role. But even that's become murky because if you're Ryan Czar, yeah, tanks kind of dictate a lot of things. But if you're making it like a Roadhog wrecking ball, it's more of like you're pseudo creating space. Because it's not like Dive where you're all coordinating on a single target and you're coordinating the target is based upon this, Zenyatta discording somebody, so Winston leaps on them and then everyone follows the Winston. Like, that's not what happens with Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball just kind of boops people around, pushes Z, and then just doesn't die because, he has suddenly 1,000 HP. He becomes a Winston ult for pile driving and dealing 100 plus damage to everybody. And then just rolls away like nothing even happened. Oh, I dashed too late, I think. But then there's... Oh, that was it. I didn't dash because I didn't think I would. I need to dash faster there. And then there's like DPS, where if you're literally not, like, it depends upon which DPS you play, but like for example, if you're a Widowmaker and you just don't land shots, like, but even it's more like if you're McCree and you don't land shots, you're screwing everyone over. You're sucking. But if you are Widowmaker and you're not landing headshots specifically, like, you know, in a lot of cases it's pretty like, it's just terrible. You're screwing everything up for everybody. Oh, I didn't hit it. But if you're like a McCree, you know, you just need to hit your shots consistently enough to do consistent damage, and then get that occasional dink that will just change the tide. Like, you're both the cleanup and the initiator depending upon when you hit your shot. And maybe even the, like, you know, beginning and end if you're that good and you hit nothing but headshots. Same thing with Soldier, but Soldier's a little bit more, you know, consistent damage, so he's automatically overruled by people like Brig and Baptiste. Honestly, I still don't understand why they haven't changed immortality. Like, it can make people immortal, fine, whatever. But either do, you know, make it so when you damage somebody, right, it deals damage, any over damage, any you know, death prevented damage goes to the immortality field. That way you don't have people freaking using emort just to ult, put out a window and emort around a corner, so that way they can't die as they're shooting through it. Like, that's just dumb. You shouldn't make it so that a misplay, like, or a counterplay or a screw up on the enemy team that allows you, oh, I didn't jump, that allows you to kind of counter or charge in and get a kill or something, right, due to a misplay on the enemy team. That shouldn't just be countered by pushing E. It's the same issue that Mercy's Resurrect has, which, you know, my roommate came up with a really good idea on how to fix Resurrect. And that idea is, what if it rezzed them like it does now, but instead of rezzing them where they are, it just respawns them that instant. Right? Like, wouldn't that be a little bit more fair? Because at least then it's like, oh, they're res, sure, they're on their way back, but we still have 2 or 3 seconds while they're on their way back to, you know, take advantage of this fight. Oops, did it way too soon. And if you don't like that, why don't you, I don't know, change it slightly to where Resurrect reses someone at 100 HP with the other 100 being self-damage. And the reason why that's important is because no ult charge will be generated from the person who was resurrected, right? You can't res somebody and then generate additional, like, half their HP of ult charge off of them coming back, basically. It just feels bad when you have an ability, like, it feels bad when you die to a one-shot ability, and it feels bad when you get a one-shot skill shot, and then it's just counteracted because somebody pushed E. It's as frustrating as dying to a Widow. Like, all the frustration people feel when they die to a Widowmaker, imagine that in reverse for the Widowmaker. Like, they feel as if all their hard work, the one job they literally have, the only thing they do, just gets counteracted because, you know, oh, someone pushed E. And Widowmaker and Hanzo headshots are the most likely candidate for that to happen because, you know, you're a million miles away. So when a person dies, they're typically freed up or in a spot that can be rezzed. Unless they're an idiot and just wandered out in the open or something. But yeah, I don't know. This whole rant started with the fact that the MMR of each individual DPS hero is essentially the same. You're just DPS, right? And they need to do that because unlike any other game really out there on the market, you're allowed to change your heroes, and that's honestly fine. But like, I don't know. Maybe adding something like there's no easy solution to it. There's no one answer fixes all. In my opinion, it's just the inherent bias of what's happening with the way that we have things set up now. But it is frustrating, like, whenever I want to play Genji and I want to play against people of my actual skill level, right? People who aren't in high platinum, low diamond. I want to play against people who will let me just, you know, right click to get a feel for, you know, hitting 3 and understanding the interactions between, you know, what point should I move away from the deflect, what point should I move away from, you know, the hook. And like, you don't have to tell me that about, like, that's how you improve, right? That's absolutely correct. You do improve by playing people who are better than you. But it doesn't make sense then, though, that I'm playing against people better than me because I'm better at a different hero, right? So, oh, I pushed the wrong key. When I queue again, right, and I want to play some McCree or something in my downtime because I just like playing it, I'm going to be against people who just aren't at my skill level because I lost while playing Genji against a better team, right? Then all of the MMR for my McCree and my Widowmaker, my Ashe, all of that gets lowered too. So now people are going to be like, oh, wait, was Gray's a Smurf or something? Or, oh, man, we got a hacker over here because, you know, everyone in gold who's better than you is a hacker or something. Everyone in platinum and who's better than you is a hacker. Like, it's just not fun. I don't know how I just did that. I'm getting more consistent with it, though, which is good. I think I'm waiting too long there, actually. My jump got eaten. I don't know. And then there's the real issue, which is supports. Like, God, don't even get me started. Like, after Ana, there's been zero really... And let's be fair here. Ana is relatively overpowered in how much of a high skill ceiling she has. But at the same time, it would be stupid to ignore how powerful Baptiste is in comparison to Ana without needing as much skill, right? His skill ceiling isn't as high as Ana. That's 100% true. He can kind of delay or deny a lot of ultimates with his Emort. Although I think oh, I didn't dash fast enough. I think Emort's power is both there, but also equally in denying outplays by the enemy team. So his is kind of twofold. Well, yes, but actually no kind of situation. Whereas Ana, like the fact that Nade completely negates all healing. Like, that's just absurd, really, when you actually look at it compared to all the other abilities. It's just as absurd as how the only thing that cleanses anything in the game is Zarya Bubbles. The only thing that silences people in the game is Sombra's Hack. Like, there's so many things that only... Like, the only stun that really can't be eaten is Sigma's Rock. Why is it the only projectile that just can't be eaten? Like, it makes no sense. Although I get, yeah, Big Rock. Ooh. But it doesn't make sense. Like compared to all the other things of Overwatch, right? If you have an ability, which description is deletes projectiles, and then you have a projectile that can't be deleted, it's like an unstoppable force means an immovable object, right? In this case, though, it's been defined that, like, the immovable object is better than the unstoppable force. Or no, the unstoppable force is better than the immovable object. Something like that. Literally, I can eat all projectiles both as Sigma and as Diva. Both have an ability whose stated function is any projectile it will delete. Rock apparently isn't a projectile. I would love to know what definition the rock is. Maybe its definition is literally, I am a rock. Right? Like, that's the only thing I can think of. I am a rock, therefore I cannot be eat. Boop, boop. Oh. I was like half a frame too late. Probably more than that, actually. I have an idea. I'm gonna try something. Nope, didn't work. Let me try here. I mean, it worked, but at what cost? I don't know. I did a whole video on it. If you want to check out my 5-hour rant, somewhere along the lines, I have a Word document that I go through my changes. Although I didn't, there's some that I still didn't state. Like the change to Baptiste that I would do is I would make E more. I would make it so, like, I don't know, if the focus of the game is abilities, right, and not so much skills, and the usage of said abilities, like, that's what I think Overwatch should focus more on. Overwatch is always been really a game about, like, challenging the norms of what is a first-person shooter. It's about, you know, it used to be, initially people thought it would be about the lore, because it's just how much unnecessary lore there is, right? Like, think about it, when Overwatch first came out, there was so much, like, potential lore that just was never, ever talked about. Between, like, what happened to Mei, why is she, you know, where she was, which eventually was explored with 0 Hour, don't get me wrong. Reaper leaving with Moira, Ana being, you know, like, leaving Overwatch and now paired with Soldier. It's all been nothing but setup after setup after setup. It's been Doomfist, you know, he's been leader of the shady organization called Talon, but we still don't know what their objective is. We still don't know why they want to destroy the world. Maybe it's take over, which is our assumption, but nothing's really been clarified. Like, there's a lot of things where if I look at it right now, the story potential is there. But back in 2017, you know, like, as I said in my video before, like, it's just so late. It's just so late for a lot of this, you know, lore-based stuff. But going back to what I was really saying, yeah, it's always challenged, right? Like, it's not like the stereotypical point click kill type of adventure, right? It's not what it's about. It's about thinking about your abilities, thinking about your teammates, working together as a team to ensure a victory. But for as much team play as there is, it's amazing how I can be Hanzo and kill 2 or 3 people, but my tanks are on the ground, you know, in a separate fight. Or like I have a wrecking ball off going and killing their Widowmaker, where their Orisa is sitting on top of the payload and I have to break their shield while I'm with the Roadhog. And meanwhile, their I don't know, Sombra's in our backline attacking our Ana and our Mercy. Like, there's 3 different things going on inside of one team fight, but it's really like 3 separate mini battles. And, you know, at some point something's just like, why are we fighting? Why is Ball fighting one of their supports and a DPS over inside of their spawn, while Roadhog is off on the flank on the left, you know, trying to duel their Soldier? Meanwhile, we're left to face the tanks as, you know, a Brig and a Lucio. Like, nothing makes sense. It's not really team-based anymore. I didn't dash. I don't know. I dashed way too late there. And I recognize, yeah, there's a lot of catch-22s with everything that I'm saying. Excuse me. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it. Eat it too. I understand that. Blah. Dry throat. Talking too much. Boop, boop, boop. Missed. I don't know. There's just something. It's one of those weird feelings with Overwatch where I'm just so disappointed because of how much potential it has, but it's potential in my eyes, right? And I understand the fact that it's not a game that I have any control in terms of development over. It's not a game that's meant for me specifically alone. If it was, I wouldn't be in freaking platinum. It's a game for the devs to decide, you know, the future of, and it's a PvP game, which is naturally going to cause a lot of people to be very antsy about, like, I want it to be this way. Why does this hero do this? I define unfun as this. Because I can tell you right now, Sombra players love the fact that there's a silence in the game. Tank players, no matter what tank you are, and even some DPS players, hate the fact that there's a silence. Even some support players hate the fact that there's a silence in the game. Like, if you're Brig, you hate getting silenced. If you're Lucio, you hate getting silenced. If you're Doomfist, you hate getting... Heck, Sombra hates getting silenced because then she can't translocate away. Tracer hates... Anyone with really mobility hates getting silenced. The only real person who has any modicum of mobility that doesn't mind it is probably Reaper. You got rid of his disengage, but that's about it. I mean, it's not like he's gonna teleport mid-fight unless he's a god or an idiot, one or the other. So, why, like, and the fact that it has such unique rules, and the fact that you can chain your hacks with your EMP, like, you can hack somebody, right? Which is like a 6-second cooldown. And then you can EMP them, which is another 6-second or so cooldown, silence, followed by another hack on that one target. So let's say there's a Reinhardt, right? You can hack him before the fight starts, and then as the hack is running out, you can go ahead and EMP, which means that he's going to be hacked again for another like 6 seconds. And then as it's running out, you can hack him one more time for a grand total of like 18 seconds of silence. And 18 seconds is a crap ton in Overwatch. Which is the other thing that's also unique about Overwatch, is the length of the fights. There's so many, the reason why I keep like pausing and like mentioning random things and going off on tangents is because, in all honesty, like, people have to admit it. It's a complicated game, and every time I stop and I pause, it's because I just realized something else, another factor you got to consider. Well, yeah, it's a short fighting game, right? Like, if you change it to the way that I wanted it to be changed, it'd be going more in the MOBA direction. And the reason why that would be important is because it'd be more ability focused and more, you know, teamwork focused, while at the same time not being necessarily teamwork focused. Like, that's the one thing HOTS and other MOBA type games have really mastered, is the art of being a team while not really being a team. Like, it matters what each individual person does and when they rotate and when they use their abilities on what and where things get, you know, captured. But at the same time, you know, you don't all have to be together. It's sort of like that feeling in Overwatch, you know, when you're a Reinhardt and there's an enemy Reinhardt, and then you start the fight and you realize the Reinhardt's not there, and you go, "Where's Ryan?" Like, that's how it is, but like it's usually the DPS or something. It's like, wait, where's their, you know, Li Ming, or where's their, I don't know, another brawler person. It's that kind of like, they're, even though they're not there, they're still a part of the team fight. Feels good to just kind of rant like this. Especially since I know no one's here, so like, it'll just be preserved for future thoughts so I can see how much of an idiot I am. Or I could be a prophet, you know? Be like I told you. Like I did with the yellow G system. Called it on the forums. Although the way they implemented it was kind of meh. I do think clans would be better, but at the same time, I feel like it's a community thing, right? I think what they're really hoping for is a reset. They're hoping to Overwatch experiment is like the great Overwatch experiment, right? It failed in some ways. It succeeded in others, like vastly succeeded in some areas, such as interest and proof of concept and multiplayer, just co-op fun. Like, it's a fun game. It's frustrating because it's so fun and it doesn't live up to the potential some people put on it, because, you know, it's like a drug. Once you have the same drug over and over and over again, eventually you build up a resistance to it and it just becomes, you know, normalized. Which is why new content and new PvE stuff, new playing with your friends and competing for the new high score, and, you know, things like that kind of kept it alive, along with new heroes that shake up the meta, or new maps that are added into rotation, or new game modes would have been, you know, another way of doing it. That new is what was like part of a drug that would have kept people hooked on Overwatch. But they kind of petered off, and I think it was because they started working on Overwatch 2, and that was probably one of their biggest mistakes, the first and foremost mistake. But I think they realized that there's a lot of spaghetti code that caused a lot of issues, and a lot of their heroes they were creating were physics-based heroes. And the number one killer of physics-based heroes is a janky engine that doesn't allow you to properly do physics-based things. Kind of hard to have a hero like Reinhardt with a pin that half the time doesn't connect, and the other half pins people you know, on the other side of a wall or on another platform, like a level up higher than them, or having a shatter that does the same thing. I dashed the wrong way. I don't think I would have made it anyway, but still. Like, that's why I think they wanted to first and foremost just reset a lot of things to fix their code. But I also think there's a another reason, which is, as Jeff Kaplan put it, there are some things that just don't sit well with people in a simple patch note. It doesn't sit well to completely change a core game mode in just a single patch. So they're hoping to rectify a lot of the complaints that they've been seeing inside of this new big patch. Oh, wasn't far enough left. Now, if we actually like dive into that, well, what could be even seen as a potential issue, right? Well, Genji's dash feels weird. All physics-based things, all physics-based things. I'll say that first and foremost. All physics-based things are just janky hackmate, in the wise words of Carl Sagan. I didn't get to... That would be number 1. Number 2 would be certain game modes that just are unfun, right? Like Assault. I'm looking at you, Assault. And I've already given my idea on how to fix it. AKA Marathon Assault, where you always give the attackers the favorite, but you make it so it just keeps going and going and going on one attack round. And then it switches. And it always gives attackers the favorite, because like the number 1 issue with Assault isn't the fact that the game mode concept itself sucks, which it's probably the least ideal concept out of all of them, to be honest. But to be also honest, it's really the ending of every 2CP, where you're just sitting there going, okay, either they're going to continue popping out of nowhere, or, you know, we're going to get lucky and kill them. We're going to team wipe them, and then get on point with enough of us alive still to be able to actually, you know, spawn camp them. It's literally spawn camping simulators, point B. If you can't spawn camp correctly, you won't be able to cap point B. That's what Assault has turned into. It's either steamroll or never take point A. So there's three phases of point A. We took it on the first run because we steamrolled over them. We now have ultimates, so we finally managed to snowball them over to them. And then we never capped it. That's the 3 phases of point A. And you typically can tell what's what. Oops. You can typically tell what it's going to be fairly early on. The only one that you can't be able to tell is if you're going to get the second version, because the first version, it's duh, you just did it. The second version, it's, well, we'll see, right? And the third version is if my teammates are just yelling at each other and blaming each other for stupid things that don't even really matter just because their playstyles don't match up. Like, that's just going to be the end of it. That's it. That's the end of it. Like, might as well just go GG. I wish I could surrender. And that's the other thing, is always playing for the draw. Playing for the draw always feels terrible. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, there's no... If there was a mini escort... Like, if Assault was hybrid in reverse, that would be another way to fix it. Is if you had to escort something to a certain point, and that unlocks the point. Or maybe there's, like, 3 options, right? And... Or no, I guess it would be better just to have one. And so you start off by escorting something from your spawn to the point itself, and then the point unlocks. That would be a way to fix it, because at least then it doesn't feel bad because because if you can't get the escort portion down, then you probably weren't going to get anything beyond that anyway. So it would add a new layer to it that would be interesting. Trying to think, what would be the downsides of that? Obviously, there's going to be several downsides to it. Because it doesn't completely solve it in the sense of, like, all it solves is the drawing mechanic of the game, right? It makes it so that way it doesn't feel as bad when you can't do anything, right? It doesn't feel like 4 minutes of you accomplished nothing, because that's one of the downsides. I will admit that if it feels terrible to be on Hanamura point A or Volskaya point A, and then just sit there flaming each other because you have a minute and a half left. You have no ultimates because you blew 5 of them last fight and you still lost. Like, that just doesn't feel good, no matter what rank you're at. Although it probably wouldn't happen at higher ranks, but at the same time, I wouldn't doubt it happening. So, having an escort thing would solve that problem. Because at least you feel like you do something, right? The other thing is, like, to be completely honest, why is it that Hanamura and Volskaya and, like Volskaya honestly is a little bit better, in my opinion, than Hanamura in one aspect, and that is the amount of versatility you get to attack point A. It's better in that one specific aspect because, like, if you look at Hanamura, they removed the flank. They removed the right wall that you used to be able to flank over top of. They have a left room that does nothing except get you onto high ground, so you can blink through a window. But the gigantic gate, you know, there's no real easy way around it. It's just like... it just feels bad because it's like if you're not a mobility hero, so let's say you're not playing Winston or you're not playing Diva, you're not playing Wrecking Ball, and even then, as a tank, the window on the top left is so tiny, like it's nearly impossible for you to be able to actually use that as an option. It just feels like the map like geometry is just made poorly. I mean, here I am, a random person, right? So like, it's not like I have a better map design in general, but I understand the core concept of you come out of spawn, you have 3 ways to go. You have, let's take Hanamura for example. You have 2 doors, but the left door does absolutely nothing. And it just takes you to a roundabout way so you don't get spawn shot. That's all it really does. It's all it's useful for is to get you out of spawn without getting hit by a Junkrat nade, or getting hit by a fire strike, or getting hit by unnecessary spam, or surprise bastion, or something like that. Which is actually still pretty easy to counter if they're doing it that far up. And then from there, you basically your paths can converge into one of 2 paths, where you can split off, and there's like 3 main routes. There's, you go right to the high ground, you go right and then to the choke, you go left and then to the choke, or then you go left to the high ground. And so like there's a lot of this complex layering at right outside of spawn, and it's really, really good. But then it just goes to a choke. And then that's it. Like there's nothing, there's 2 ways around it. It's better than when Wrecking Ball first came out. Don't get me wrong. Because there is, you know, just like Wrecking Ball now, there's 2 ways to really get around that choke. Technically 3. Oops, I wasn't holding S. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that choke is you go it through the main gate and that's it. Like, no, I totally get the viability of Winston diving through that top left window. But is your gold player going to be able to hit that jump? You know, if you're going to balance for the casual, you know, you're going to have to realize that most of the casual players, they're probably going to just take the easiest route, the route that they can actually pass through. And that would be the main choke. And as a result, like, even Wrecking Balls go through the main choke just because nothing can really stop them. They get Maywalled. Oh no. So anyway, like, and that's the other thing. Because like if you look at, there's a lot of map geometry that is very like that's the issue with Paris as well. There's only a single way to go. There's so much intricate geometry leading up to that choke, and so much intricate geometry and pathing leading away from that choke. But there's that choke. If that choke didn't exist, Paris might actually be half decent. But that choke ruins everything. There's two ways to get through that choke. Over the top of the roofs, as a Pharah or as a Wrecking Ball or as a Doomfist, or maybe even as a Genji if you want to be suicidal. Or through the choke. Now once you pass that choke, now there's plenty of options to go through. But like the entire purpose of that choke, it's so obvious that entire purpose of that choke is to allow the defenders a chance to see you. But it doesn't explain why there's 2 miles of lead up to that has such, unique pathing methods, and it's almost like I can just see the line of thought of like, okay, well, we need to make it fair for the attackers and the defenders, right? So we can't have it so the defenders can just spawn camp them, but we can't have it so the attackers can just respawn and come back in 2 seconds, right? So the attacker spawn needs to be relatively far away from the choke. So let's go ahead and add a path that's relatively long away from the choke. Okay. This choke, the reason why it needs to be there is so the defenders can see the attackers coming. Oh, okay. That can be fair. I can see the argument for that at the very least. Okay, well, if the defenders have a single, line to defend at this choke point, they can just stare at the attacker spawn and they're not going to be able to do anything. So let's obscure the attacker spawn. Okay, cool. That's going to make it so we now have paths, lanes from a MOBA, basically. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Alright, now we're going to give them, a bunch of unique options where they can go to high ground, or they can take, a middle ground. Like, for example, in Paris, there's the Widowmaker cubbyhole, more or less, same thing that Hanamura has. But it's going to just immediately stare at that choke, right? Cool. Okay. Well, aside from that, what else is there? Well, there's 2 things that make a gigantic U on Paris that go to one singular thing. But if you choose the left path, you get the option to go above the rooftops. Which, unless you're Echo or Pharah, really isn't a smart option. And maybe Doomfist if you're lucky. And Wrecking Ball. But like anyone who uses mobility to dash in that direction, like Diva or Genji, they're using their escape method to engage. That's not something that's wise to do. Yes, they can make it, but it really limits the amount of heroes that can actually do anything. Not to mention the amount of vertically challenged heroes there are in the game. Like, yeah, Widowmaker could once every like 10 seconds, 12 seconds now, take a jump shot. But it's just more effective to sit in main. Unless, of course, they have a sniper, or they have a spammer, they have something that can prevent you from making use of that cubby, which is entirely possible. Oh, I missed it. But, like, there's, like, I get the process that leads up to it, I guess. I mean, at least that's my assumption as to what kind of leads up to it. I'm sure there's other factors as well, like with the health packs, the placement of them, the minis and the megas. So it's a lot of it is to prevent the defenders from just spawn camping the attackers. I get that. But then it's just like, after the choke, you don't want the attackers to just like, win it straight up. You want to give them options to be able to deal with the defenders, split out, conquer, and, with divide and conquer, that's the word. Like, you want to make it so the defenders have to look at multiple points of view before an engagement, so they split their attention and force mistakes out of the defenders. That high level, high skill, forcing mistakes out of the defenders is what the attackers should do to win a fight, to make it, not fair, but make it challenging, to make it earned, right? To make it skillful, to make it competitive. You have to force mistakes out of the enemy, not just pray to God that they make a mistake. what it feels like half the time on Assault right now. You're just praying that, oh, the Ryan pushed too far up. Now they're down a Reinhardt. Oh, and even then, because of how strong the choke is, like, the choke is really one of the bigger issues as to why the attackers have so much trouble on the any point really. The second point is a little bit different though, because it's a combination of the attackers not. Oh man. The attackers being forced through a choke point, because point B, there's not really major chokes. I mean, there is, but there isn't, right? Like, for example, Hanamura, there's top right, there's left side, there's main, there's top right to left side, there's windows on both sides of the main choke. There's a pagoda with a mega inside of it. There's a lot of there's not linear, right? Like, that's awesome, but at the same time it's horrible, because again, the fact that certain paths are only accessible to certain heroes makes a team game a lot harder to play as a team, right? As a death ball, as a rush type of comp. So it makes it more geared towards divey type comps, right? It enables different styles of play. And I get that. That's fine. Except when the thing is, like, those compositions typically require more skill to be able to pull off. So when dive is meta, it just means that, like, the high skill is only going to only play that, because it's just so much better. It's that much better when you have proper communication. I don't know. I also feel like another issue is the amount of outplaying capabilities. I'm bringing that up now because I was just thinking about, like, dive versus death ball versus bunker versus disruption, I guess. I don't even know what you call Roadhog, Wrecking Ball, or Doomfist, or, you know, those kinds of heroes. Like, I guess there would be disruption is the best way I can describe them. Area denial type of, as well, is another way of describing it. It also keeps my mind off of other things. I want to get to the point where I can do this without thinking about it. I just want to do it. I'm still utilizing the same keys, so if you're wondering how I'm doing it, I'm standing in the same exact spot. I'm waiting for the same exact moment so that I can get to that. And so I'm waiting for it to hit right about here. I'm standing right about here. And I'm hitting here most exactly. And I'm holding down the entire time that I do this. It's like there's some things that I'm just... Oh, that was too soon. That I'm doing consistently, and I'm trying to get it ingrained in my brain. Oh, dash too late. Oh, wasn't far enough left. Did it hit my head? When did I hit them? I don't know. I would have to do what I did before, where I go through each individual hero and describe what I think the issue is. Like, in my opinion, if Overwatch wanted to achieve another level of competitiveness, I'd remove the quote-unquote unfun abilities, the abilities that are just so broken. And those abilities would be things that unfun is how I describe them. It's basically like, okay, I just walked out of spawn and I'm dead. That's not fun. I'm standing behind 2 of my tanks and I get punched in the mouth into a wall. I'm stretching my fingers, by the way, which is why I'm not moving. That's not fun. I'm trying to fight this person 1v1 and I'm getting slowed, or I'm getting lasered in the back of my head by turrets that were placed in positions that I just can't reach because, you know, Sim can just throw them at any angle in any direction and have them target me from a mile away. And there's no indication they're there until I walk through them. There's no like aura or orb bubble or, you know, there's no kind of warm up to them either. You know, honestly, I don't mind the damage. Like, the damage is fine and the slow is fine, just not together, right? Slowing in general just doesn't feel good in Overwatch, especially when it comes from something like, if May's primary fire slowed target, that would be vastly better than in her sentry turret slowing the target. If they really need to remove the slow on her sentry turrets. They need to nerf the range of Torb's turret, in my opinion. They just need to adjust auto-aim features of the game in general. The sentry turrets, the turrets, anything. Bob. In my opinion, I would remove Bob being a turret, right? I would just have him uppercut somebody. If we're going to make Ashe as useful as she is with TNT and with her damage boosted one-shot potential, don't have an ultimate that's better than both of the other snipers. Even then, like, Hanzo still has a really good ult, in my opinion. Like, it's like Diva Bomb, right? It's terrible, but it's good. It's terrible in the sense that, like, it's better just for zoning in a lot of cases, and you get it relatively quickly, but not really. Like Hanzo's better than Diva in terms of ultimate because his just generates 5 times faster. It's just absurd how much faster his generates. But I don't know. I'm hopeful because it's one of those things where I think that the role being, you know, the leading factor, like, okay, imagine this. Imagine the thing where in the future DPS don't have CC, or rather they have very, very minimal CC. They aren't going to be known for their CC. They're going to be known for, shocker, their damage. Tanks will be CC removal and anti-CC. CC being crowd control. So, Orisa's Fortify, Bubbles blocking LOS. Shields blocking LOS, cleansing the antis and cleansing the slows and the freezes. You know, anti-CC. Deleting projectiles, deleting flashbang, deleting, you know, Bash and Rock are their own special things, but and Maze freeze and sentry turrets. Coming to think of it, Diva's DM doesn't really delete a hell of a lot of CCs. I mean, heck of a lot of. My bad. She just kind of deletes ultimates. She deletes she deletes the Maze freeze in her ultimate form. She deletes Graviton, so that's Zarya's CC gone. She deletes Ana's Sleep Dart, so that's another CC removed. Boop doesn't get deleted. What else? Nice. Doomfist's punch doesn't get deleted. It's 50-50. More like 40-60, but still. That wasn't left enough. That's what I was afraid of. That's where I'm going to be coming from, right? So if I don't get this down right, then when I come in for doing it for the first time, I'm going to be like, no, I messed it up. It also feels good because I've been kind of out of it lately. Oh, wow. That was first time in a while that I've had my input deleted. This is also going to be one of those things where I'm just going to keep coming back to it. Like, after this, I'm probably going to do QGA next time. Tomorrow, that being. I did it again. Just because I need to get it down to the point where I'm not even thinking about it, and I'm not 1 in 10 chance of me actually doing it. I don't know, also, I kind of want to stream more Overwatch, but I just feel bad because I'm not going to be talking most of the time because I'm still in the phase of concentrating. Also, I'm going to go ahead and call it pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and call it at like 10:30 my time. I've been not getting enough sleep lately. It's been affecting my work, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get this done a little bit, like, as consistently as I can, but I'm also going to try to go to bed earlier. Might also start streaming Valheim because Valheim is really fun. It's really lonely since I don't have a lot of friends. I've got a lot of good friends, but not a lot of gaming friends. I've got a group of friends who like to game, but just not the same stuff as me. Not to mention I do a lot of solo games as well, so it doesn't help. I play a lot of like Call of Duty, Heroes of the Storm. They don't play R6 as much anymore, but they used to. I like R6, but that's the only one of those that I really like. I said that I dislike the other games. Like, I enjoy playing Call of Duty, and I enjoy playing Heroes of the Storm, but when I joined the group, they had already invested, like countless hours in Call of Duty, so they're much better than I am. And same thing with Heroes of the Storm. And then it like... They're the pseudo-competitive type, where they enjoy the nature of competitiveness, and they enjoy winning, right? And they're at a high enough skill level where winning entails doing several things decently, like, quote-unquote correct, or, like, efficient, or however you want to describe it. And being a person who's relatively a noob at the MOBA genre in general, like, basically it comes down to, like, I just don't have the wherewithal to play competitive games solo. Not without having a reason. Like, if I'm streaming, maybe I'll stream HOTS. Maybe I'll become a HOTS streamer. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather spend my time trying to practice speedruns than playing Heroes of the Storm. Maybe I'll play with my brother, because they only do AIs. That's more my speed. The AIs in HOTS is a lot better than the AIs in Overwatch. Granted, it's still baby mode, right? Like, I'd be able to easily dominate. But the main thing with HOTS compared to, like, Overwatch is, like, I know all the heroes in Overwatch. I know all the interactions in Overwatch. I know all the damage and tick numbers and patch notes from years prior. Like, I don't in the HOTS. And there's so many more just things to learn that it's impossible to just be like, I'm gonna choose the I can't even think of her name. What's her name? Why is none of their names going? Johanna! I'm gonna use Johanna because she's an easy tank to get. Alright, let me go ahead and go to icyvein.com to figure out what build I need to go to be able to not be throwing. Oh, why didn't you? Why did you E at that time? You know, your E does this effect as well. Oh, you're going that build? You need to know that you're revolving around your slow, and you got to hit your skill shot to be able to be good at it. Oh, you're going, you know, with this card. Why did you use your Q at that time? Why, you're almost out of mana. Why aren't you hearthing? Why are you engaging inside this fight if you're almost out of mana? Like, there's so many more micromanagement things. That's just like, what? I want to push buttons, man. Like, it's button mashing simulator to me right now because I don't know what half this shit does, and I had 0.5 seconds to try to comprehend it. And because you're level 850 something, I understand you already know every single hero, have them unlocked, and have them to level 20 or whatever. But like, I don't. And then, I mean, it's the obvious thing. It's like the same thing with like Genshin, where it's like, well, yeah, I'm not the high, world level like 5 or 6 or whatever, so I can't join your guys' world to help you with quests or whatever. How am I gonna fix that? I can just play. Like, true, I could. I'm not gonna, but I could. I figured at this point it's just better for everybody if I just stop trying to play with them for a little bit while they get on their high of whatever. I'm sure whenever Overwatch 2 comes out, they're all gonna jump on board and buy it and play it for like, I don't know, several months, maybe half a year, maybe a year. We'll see. I think they lasted half a year last time, so probably not much longer than that. I'm much more the type that, like, if I'm going to get serious with a game, I'm going to go ahead and try my hardest to get really good. That be it until I'm, like, bored or burned out. I also just don't like PvP in general. I don't know. I just want to be friends with everybody. I don't like competing. I'm more to the heart of the team, as they used to say. I just enjoy being included. I like observing. I'm a peeper. I just like watching and judging from the sideline. It's one of the reasons that maybe it's because I grew up with my brother, but like, he would always do stuff, and then I'd just be like, just do it this way, or do it that way, or do it like this, and then it'd be like a borderline of frustration. Just because it's like, I would do it a different way, because, you know, my reaction times is somewhere close to like twice as good as his, I would say. This is what it feels like. And I think it's also just like reaction to like, okay, this is happening, I'm going to do this next. Or I see that in my peripheral, I'm going to go ahead and take that into account when I do my next action. Let me go ahead and plan my next 5 steps ahead to be able to know exactly what path I'm going to go ahead and try and take. And sometimes I don't think he does that. He's just like, that's the story. All right, it tells me to go push this button, so I'm going to go push this button. It's like, well, okay, but what happens if, you know, you push the button and the spikes fall? Or what happens if, you know, I'm just going to push the button. We'll find out. Okay. There's still one moment when I was watching him play Overwatch that I was just like, it was when Baptiste had just come out. And he, like, if he was here, he'd know. He'd instantly be like, ah, this story again. He literally flanked around what's called White Room, which is the room that's not bridge. And he was Baptiste going around the right side towards White Room, and healed his team. Realized he was out of position because I was freaking out behind him, having an aneurysm because he's going off doing his own thing as a support. Granted, it's Baptiste, so like, quote unquote support, but he then proceeds to go around the outside of the point closest to his spawn, and then proceeds to walk directly through the enemy team. And at one point, the enemy Reaper even turns, looks him in the face, and then just goes, nah, I'm good, I don't care. And then he walks across the bridge in front of the entire enemy team and just walks through them. And they let him go. He doesn't die. I was like, how did you manage to do that? And it's like that like the reaction time of each of the people on that enemy team was the same as my brother's, where he just is like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Okay, I'm over here now. Why am I here? What's this? Huh. Oh, hey, look, I saw something. Oh, man, it's already too late. It's gone already. Oh, and that would have been a great time to do this thing. Dang it, I didn't do it because, I didn't see it in time. But it makes for great entertainment. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Oh, I'm getting tired just thinking about it. But I'm going to go ahead and use this day as practice for my outro as well. And maybe one day, just maybe, I'll learn how to edit. I'll go ahead and edit out all the mistakes, or edit an entire compilation of all the times that I tried to change my intro and my outro. I think my intro is getting down pretty good, actually. I do like the radio announcer-esque quality of how I currently have it, where it's like, welcome to the Abyss. Although I kind of want to like figure out a way to include the Abyss in my outro too, but I think that's just too much of the Abyss. Now that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey through the Abyss. I hope you all enjoyed the content, and until next time, peace.